Thank you, Ms. Thornton, very much. Thanks to all of our witnesses for your testimony today. I will now move into the portion of questioning by our capital markets members. I recognize myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Elenoff, as I'm sure you are aware, Democrat SEC Commissioner Crenshaw gave a very concerning speech last week in which she cited growth in our private markets as a reason to increase disclosure and impose other regulatory obligations on private companies. In our view, her comments demonstrate how Democrats would rather force companies to go public than reduce barriers to capital formation for all companies. Mr. Elenoff, if the Democrat-led SEC moves forward with and eventually finalizes proposals that increase burdens on private companies, as it likely will in its forthcoming proposed rulemaking to revise Regulation D and Form D, can you explain how that would harm the millions of businesses that remain private? And what I'm really trying to get to is, would it make it harder for them to raise capital, create jobs, reach potential, or would these policies considered today, on the other hand, make it easier for small businesses to grow?
It's a troubling, coordinated narrative that we're hearing. I think there's no doubt that increasing disclosure and pre-filing submission requirements on those issuers would be very problematic for a marketplace that's been around since 1982 and has operated efficiently, successfully by the numbers that we heard from Representative Sherman earlier, a $4 trillion marketplace. I don't know why we'd even consider going about regulating it in a similar manner to what we do with our public company universe. These companies chose tactically to not go to the public markets because of the overregulation within the public market sphere, and particularly over the last year. So I think you would end up seeing a reduction in the capital raising process. I think the securities offering supply chain, yes, I'll take credit for that term, I think would become bogged down, and I think it's ill-advised and unwise, and I would stay clear of it. And the thought process that somehow you can, as a securities lawyer, it would be a boon for me. So when a securities lawyer is telling you not to do something, even though it would benefit me personally, I think you should take that under advisement. I think to force large companies that choose to remain private, which is the same conversation we had in 2019. So the question is, how do you incent them to become public? And the thought process to burden private companies more is the incentive to get them to become public seems misguided to me and quite troubling.
Thank you very much. Ms. Howe, as an angel investor, you have helped countless early-stage companies in my home state of Missouri and beyond raise the capital that they need to grow. In doing so, you've supported founders and their communities. You've also witnessed some of the barriers that exist which prevent startups from reaching their potential. From your experience, could you provide examples showing how the policies considered today would benefit the early stage companies that you invest in?
First, maybe going back to Ms. Crenshaw's report and maybe addressing Ms. Thornton. I hear a lot of unicorn and $1 billion. These are companies that we're investing in them at $5 to $10 million or $15 million, and they'll probably sell somewhere between $50 million and $400 million as a bolt-on to some other business. So the kind of businesses that we invest in tend to start smaller and they exit smaller as well. And so it's a different mindset than maybe some of the understandable concerns about regulating much larger companies. I'd also say that we turned down investors. We had investors who were much more diverse, frankly, and both in age and gender and ethnicity, because they couldn't afford to invest in a fund that had an average need of $400,000 investors. So by broadening it out, I think we would have much more inclusive capital. And I'd also say that one of the things that is troubling to me, and I agree with the protections I was in the financial services business for 32 years, we need protections, but a fund format like we have, and like all of these small funds that are being formed, by the way, and we have audits as well, but a fund format is a more diversifying, de-risking way for people to invest and to participate in their neighbors, their kids, the people they want to invest in who are in their own local community.
Thank you very much, Ms. Howell. I've got a fantastic question for you, Ms. Gladney. I'm going to submit it for the record since my time has expired.